as she mentioned, my name is Frank. I'm the owner of Abbey Realty. We're kind of the accidental real estate company. And what I mean by that is I never intended to open a real estate company. I never intended to have my own business. It happened very quickly on short notice, boom, and that was less than 9 months ago.
Wow.
So we've had a measure of success, but I just want you to know, nobody is more surprised than me. So to kind of set the table for kind of the story I'll share with you and questions that you may have, let me just give a little bit of background to my story and how we got to this place. I was never intended to be even in real estate. I felt called to be a minister when I was a boy, and ended up going to college, getting a business degree, but then heading off to seminary, got a master's degree, and then spent a couple years in New Mexico as a youth minister, and then went off to St. Louis to be a senior pastor of a Baptist church. And I really loved what I did. I felt like I was really flowing in my calling, and didn't think I would ever do anything else. But I took a break from ministry to go back to school to get a doctorate in theology. And while doing that, I took a job in sales, insurance and investments, in order to feed my family through that experience. And I discovered an absolute love for the business world. I loved the people that I came in contact with that I would not have met had I just been in the ministry lane. And even though I loved the people in the churches that I served, they all kind of looked alike and talked alike and shared the same perspective on life. And I was very comfortable in that. I was raised in that. But in the business world, you meet people who don't talk like you. They don't come from the same place. They don't see the world the same place. They don't even talk the same language sometimes. And I absolutely loved that. And there was one point, and if we were in church and I was giving a testimony, I would tell you about an experience I had where I felt like my call shifted. And it really was to a frontline position in the business world. I won't go into all that detail right now because I only have 45 minutes. But all that to say, once I finished my doctorate, we moved to Houston. I had family down here, and I wanted to pursue this newfound calling in the business world. So I went to work for the David Weekley Company, selling new homes out in the brand new community called Cinco Ranch on the west side of Houston. The promotional video said 5,000 acres. Texas had never seen anything like it. It was massive. Of course, now it's 25,000 acres plus, and there's just no end to it. And there's even bigger ones than that now. That was a big, big deal back in 1992. Ended up selling homes with them for a few years. And through that whole experience, I had the opportunity to work with lots of different agents from lots of different companies. As a new home sales rep, you work with everybody from everywhere. Got kind of a broad exposure to the real estate industry, and then was offered a position in the RE/MAX organization. Big real estate company. Early 90s, they were one of the biggest. They ultimately became the largest, most productive real estate company in the world, and they asked me to serve them as a management consultant. So I spent the bulk of 20 years in that organization, running regions around the country. Missouri, went back to Missouri, Ohio, the Carolinas, Florida, and then in January of 2010, came back to Texas as the business productivity director for RE/MAX of Texas. And my role was to travel around the state and work directly with the people who owned the local RE/MAX franchises. We call them broker owners. And my job was to coach them about how to grow their business. And the specific approach that I took with our broker owners was for them to assume a coaching role, to become a coach to their agents, to take their total focus and put it on helping agents make more money in less time, have a better life. It's kind of the whole Zig Ziglar concept. You can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So I basically said, don't worry about your business, worry about the business of your agents. Focus on them, and you won't have to worry about your business. It will grow by default. Did that for several years, had some great success, turned around a couple major markets, Austin and San Antonio, made impact in Dallas-Fort Worth and in the Houston market. And then in July 2013, sold the company. RE/MAX of Texas got sold to the international headquarters. We went from being privately owned to being company owned. The option I had was to go to the world headquarters in Denver, which I didn't really want to do, or find something else. And that something else that I found was working for the local RE/MAX office right here in the Woodlands. And it wasn't just any old little real estate office. When I joined it, we were, and it continues to be, the #1 RE/MAX office in the state of Texas. And that's saying something. I'm sure we're a pretty big state. But it presented a little bit of a challenge for me because I'd been in corporate leadership now all these years. And then suddenly I'm the business coach to real estate agents who are averaging $250,000 a year in gross commission income. Who am I to tell them how to sell real estate? You see the dilemma. So I shared with my bosses, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to need to actually sell a little real estate. Because I can't just speak out something I learned in a book. They'll never give me the time of day. And they agreed. So from day one in the company, and this took a little bit of gumption, but I knew what I had been teaching for all those years really worked. And so even though it may sound like you were crazy to do that, it didn't feel crazy to me. And what I said to these really top agents was, if you want to grow your business further, if you want to take it to the next level and beyond, then just do what I do. Because what I teach you in the training room on Monday and Wednesday and Friday is what I'm going to implement in my own business. And I'm starting from scratch in a market where I don't know anybody, in what may be one of the most competitive real estate markets in Houston or even the entire state of Texas. And oh, by the way, I'm doing it part-time because I got a full-time job coaching you how to grow your business. But I'm very confident that what I teach in the classroom will work on the streets. And if you doubt it, just watch me. And so within a couple years, I achieved top producer status in our office, won all the awards, was invited to speak the first year at what they call the Top 500 event, which is where the top agents in the state all go to meet. And I told them, I'm here as a speaker this year. I'm going to be back next year as one of you. And I was, and every year thereafter, earned my way into that pretty prestigious club, again, selling part-time on the side in a market where I didn't have all the natural advantages that a lot of people have. The bottom line to all that is, I loved what I was doing. I loved coaching. I loved selling. I loved the income opportunity that comes with the entrepreneurial aspect of sales. But I was also kind of addicted to that W-2 salary. Anybody know what I mean? You know, it's kind of nice getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, and then everything you produce over here is gravy. I mean, I felt like I had the best of all worlds. Very, very happy with that situation. The only challenge I had was I was working all the time. People ask me, how many hours were you working? I don't know. How many hours are there? I worked all of them, you know? I mean, yes, I have a family. I have responsibilities. You know, I have to eat, have to sleep. You can go to church on Sunday mornings, but I was working all the time. Can anybody relate? I mean, it was non-stop. And a human being can only do that for so long. And it was taking a toll on me. And it was taking a toll on my marriage. And my daughter felt neglected. And I just like, okay, something's got to change. But when you start making really good money, it's addictive. And it's hard to think. And not that we went into a bunch of debt and bought fancy cars and we didn't do that at all. But remember, I'd spent a lot of years in ministry. And then I'd spent a lot of years in corporate. And in corporate, you think they're making a lot of money? They're not. Okay? The truth is, no matter how fancy your title is and how long it is and how many people you got reporting to you, There's nobody in corporate, unless you might be the CEO of Exxon. I'm not talking about, way up there, but I'm just talking about normal mid-level executives that you think, well, they got it really made. They don't. If they're an employee, they don't. Nobody is ever going to pay you W-2 income what you can create for yourself by owning your own business. And that includes whether you're the CEO of a small company or you're a real estate agent where you have unlimited opportunity, limited only by your imagination and creativity and commitment to doing it. So I ended up going to people that I reported to and saying, hey, I need to make a shift here. I don't want to take a decrease in income, but I can't keep working all these hours. And so my solution is I'm going to start a team. I'm going to get 4 or 5 agents working for me. I'm going to grow them up, get their income up high, and I'll take a percentage of that, and I'll be able to work less, and then win all the way around. And the idea didn't go over as well as I thought it would. And what I heard in response was, well, Frank, there's already some jealousy of your success, and if you do that and build a big team, it's only going to get worse, and it's probably not a good idea. And I totally understood that from an ownership perspective. If I had owned the company, I'd probably feel exactly the same way and have said the exact same thing, but that didn't solve my problem. So we spent some time trying to figure it out and trying to work it out because, Seth will tell you, if you're at RE/MAX very long, you bleed red, white, and blue, and I never intended on going anywhere else or doing anything else. I didn't want to leave, but I also knew I needed to change. And we got to a point where it just wasn't going to work, despite all the best efforts and intentions on everybody's part. And so I sent an email saying, hey, let's just work out a transition strategy, win-win, this will be good for everybody, we'll work together on it. And I was informed, okay, 4 days from now is your last day. Remember when I said this was the accidental real estate company? Because I really wasn't planning to start a real estate company. I was planning to start a team, and I was going to put everything I had into this team. When I learned that 4 days later, I was going to be out of a job, and that W-2 was gone, which I had had my entire life. And that's scary when I was 50, what year is this, 2018? I was 57 years old when I found out in 4 days I was off the W-2 spigot, okay? Very, very scary. But something happened to me internally when I learned, this is really going to happen. Something shifted. And suddenly it wasn't about starting a team. I was like, well, if I'm going to have to go out on my own, I'm going to start a company. And everything that I was going to do for my team members, 3 or 4 people, I'm going to do for a whole team. A whole company of agents, a whole bunch of them. And with 4 days notice, it wasn't like I even had to strategize or have a vision board. It's just all this since 1992 being in the industry, and even years before that in ministry, knowing the needs and desires of people and their fears and insecurities and aspirations, it was just there. It just appeared, the whole company, the whole design, the compensation plan, the vision for it, the values, just boom. There it was instant on the site. And so we launched on November 15th last year, okay, less than 9 months ago. There were 4 agents I had 2 in a property management company that I already owned, and the 2 that we reached an agreement that they could come with me because I was already giving them leads, my overflow leads. So the 5 of us met at my house on the evening of November 15th, and I served chili and cornbread, and I couldn't serve anything more expensive. We didn't know how this thing was going to work. Yeah, the check wasn't coming in 2 weeks. So, and we launched Abbey Realty. And it has been the most amazing ride of my life. As of today, we're 109 agents strong. Wow. I haven't checked the numbers recently. I think that would make us the 3rd largest real estate company in the Woodlands by agent count. And I was saying early on, like 6 weeks in, I was saying we're the fastest growing real estate company in Houston. That's when we had 17 agents and then 25 agents. But we were adding an agent every 2.5 days. And I didn't know anybody else who was doing that, so I was So, and nobody's ever corrected me since. And if you know better, don't tell me, because I love that story. Okay? So we actually hit the 100 agent mark, I guess about 10 days ago, was July 26th. We reached the 100 agent mark, and we had been in existence exactly 250 days at that point. So we were adding an agent to our roster every 2.5 days. Pretty incredible experience. So I want to share with you some of how we have stumbled into that success, what's worked and what hasn't. And I made just a short list of things, and I'm going to let you choose what I share with you, okay? So here's what I've got. I've got the biggest surprise that I've learned in these 9 months, the biggest fun we've had, the biggest disappointment. I'll be happy to share that. Their biggest key to success. What do I think has made a bigger difference than anything else? The biggest leadership lesson, the biggest financial lesson, the biggest problem that we avoided, the biggest problem that was not, the biggest support that we've received, the biggest myth we've busted, the bigged challenge that we have ahead of us, the biggest encouragement that I have to share with others, and the biggest source of strength I've had in this 9-month journey. All right, you heard all that? Surprise, support, myths, encouragement. What do you want to hear about?
You have to pick one.
All right.
There's food left over out here.
Okay.
We have enough for dinner, so let's just do all the above.
All right, so I heard myth. I'm going to get your question next. I heard myth first out of your mouth, I think. So the biggest myth we've busted is that real estate agents have to have a brand. Okay? And I was a brand ambassador for decades, okay? You got to realize who's saying this. But we've attracted agents literally from every brand that you can think of, the biggest brands in the business, and we have not missed a beat on productivity. In fact, not one of these 109 agents has said to me a single time, it hurt me when I was in competition for that listing not having the brand. So it's, from our perspective, we would say it was a myth. As long, and I share this because I realize we're not all real estate agents, but we're all different businesses. But most of you are small businesses, you're entrepreneurs, you've created your own brand, and you're probably in competition with a bunch of Goliaths out there. Well, when you're in competition for the client, or when you're recruiting staff to your company, just know, based upon our experience, that brand doesn't matter to the end user. What they're ultimately, at least in our industry, they're going to make their decision based upon their confidence in you as an individual. If they feel like you're competent, you know what you're doing, and you care that you're going to be personally involved in seeing their needs are satisfied, then everything else is secondary. Yes, sir.
Why Abby?
Oh, thank you. I never remember to tell that, but it's one of the best parts of the story. Abby is my daughter. She's 23 years old. Her name means my father's joy. We named her that obviously before she was born. We chose the name. We didn't know she was going to be born with special needs. She has a condition called Williams syndrome, which causes emotional and intellectual difficulties. She's 23 years old. She's a beautiful young lady. She's witty. She's smart. But she has challenges. And so she still lives with my wife and I. And I've always said, and she has special needs, she'll always live with us. But something happened in February that I wasn't expecting. She fell in love. And she's always had a challenge with friendships her entire life because she's kind of in between. She's not as high level intellectually functioning as the normal kids, but she's way above the typical special needs, and so she doesn't relate well to either group, and she's just kind of always been alone for that reason. And she fell in love with a friend who is just exactly where she is. And so they spend every evening together. Literally, my wife and I are taxi drivers. We drive her over to his apartment every day. When he was a bagger at HED on the waterway, been there for 5 years. And they spend the evening together. They have dinner together, or they walk to a restaurant. Neither one of them drive. And then about 8:30 every night, my wife and I are looking at each other, who's going to go get her? And we go pick her up and bring her home. But they've already informed us there will be a family conference in October to talk about the future. Okay, so we'll see. That's That's Abby, yes.
The leadership challenge that you had, I would love to hear that story.
So the biggest leadership lesson?
Lesson, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so it has been the power of both vision and vulnerability. Vision meaning a leader has to have a vision for the organization, okay? This is where we're going. This is where we're going to plant our flag. This is what we're about. This is what makes us different from every other real estate company in the area. You have to have that vision, okay? And I have it, okay? I won't take time to share it with you because this isn't a recruiting meeting, but we have it. It's a very unique place. I call it the sweet spot, and it's why we've attracted so many agents. So we've got the vision, but I cannot implement or see that vision through by myself, and that's the vulnerability part. And I've been very open with our agents from day one that if this is going to happen, we're going to have to do it together. And I'll give you a very easy example of that. I told the agents on day one that I would get them a building when we got to 100 agents. Okay? I wasn't going to do it in the beginning because I didn't have any money, right? I wasn't going into debt for this thing. Who knew if it was even going to work, you know, but get me to 100, I'll get you a building. We got to 100 on July 26th. I signed a contract on July 27th. Okay? We're going to have a beautiful, yeah, pretty awesome. But here's the deal. I've been looking because I knew we were getting close to 100 and I had a promise, right? And that's all coming together. So I'm working with the bank. Okay, I got one of our Abby commercial agents out there finding property. We got the deal negotiated verbally with the seller of the property. I got a verbal from my lender. Yes, you're approvable for this astronomical amount of money, so it's all coming together. You know what I don't have? Cash for the down payment, 20%. And we're originally, now we've actually added on an adjoining property, so the project's grown. We're closed on September 7th, but originally the loan amount was going to be $1.2 million. And I needed a 20% down. I need $240,000, and I had some money, but I needed a minimum of $100,000 additional cash. And once all this came together verbally, I needed it in about 2 hours. So I sent out an email to our agents, and we were, you know, at that point 99 or something like that. It was on a Friday at 1 o'clock, and this was just like 10 days ago. This just happened, and I said, hey, I got the property, I got a preliminary approval, but I need $100,000 like right now. If you're willing to invest with me, put in a percentage money, you get percentage ownership in the LLC that will own the property, let me know. Within 2 hours, I had $100,000.
Wow.
Within 24 hours, I had $240,000. I had the entire 20% cash down payment committed from our agents and some of our vendor partners. And now that we've added another property to that, I need another $95,000, and I haven't even asked anybody for it because I just know that when I say to the agents, oh, we need another 95, I know now it's going to be there. So we're doing an open house, by the way, tomorrow for our agents at the site so they can see the property for themselves, and then I'll tell them. Did you bring your checkbook with you? So that's it. It's both. It's vision and vulnerability. Letting them know that we're all in this together and I need you.
I have a question for you. It's like, I mean, I know it wasn't part of the list. You had like you thought of yourself as a leader always, or is it something you felt like it was something you had to develop eventually out of the circumstances?
Well, I think I always thought I was more of a leader than I actually was. I was pretty arrogant as a young man and actually got taken down a few notches in several different situations. My life has not been an unbroken string of success. It's been stumble, failure, learn a lesson, pick yourself up, stumble, failure. So I'm probably more of a leader now than I've ever been in my life, but I feel like less of a leader than I've ever been. I mean, I just realized I know this much and I see more now. I see how much I don't know. So if I am a leader, it's with a great deal of humility right now. Yes?
Lessons learned. What went south on you that you weren't expecting, and what went extremely better than you thought.
Yeah, okay, so my biggest disappointment, this was very personal, and I'm gonna be very careful how I say this because I know we're being recorded, but I hired somebody to work with me, you know, write checks and handle some of the money, and 3 days in, well, it wasn't until 3 weeks in that I thought, you know what, I should check, you know, and see what's going on. And I saw that just 3 days in, there had been an anomaly that was very difficult to explain with the finances of the company. And I had to make a decision to part ways with somebody that I had liked and respected for a long time and still considered to be a friend. But that was a hard lesson. And by the way, the reason I checked 3 weeks in was, in all those years in ministry, I don't care, you know, what brand you put on the church or the temple or the synagogue, if you give somebody access to cash and they're not held accountable for it, I've seen it again and again and again. They're faced pressures and temptations and challenges, and they can justify, and I'm going to pay it back and nobody will ever know. It happens. So 3 weeks in, I thought, you know what? Now that I'm trusting somebody, I should check. And sure enough, yeah. So just watch the money.
How has your experience as a pastor/minister helped you in, you know, attaining your leadership and ownership?
I never forget the human dimension, that people are people. They're not means to an end. You know, in my case, agents are not a means by which I'm fulfilling my dreams. They are people with their own passions and needs and fears and struggles. And I'll tell you how I learned this. When I first went to work for RE/MAX as a management consultant, I flew to Ohio for my first meeting with a broker. And he said, hey, don't meet me at the office, meet me at the country club. I thought, well, this is kind of nice. And I get to the country club and they say, Mr. Gray, and I say, yes. And they said, come to our private room. I'm like, this is even better. I'm like, I'm going to like this job. And then the broker shows up and it's me and him alone in this room. And we introduce ourselves to each other and he just sits there. And then he starts crying. It chokes me up thinking about it, just remembering it. And then he just starts telling me all the pressures he's under. His wife's about to leave him. He's about to file bankruptcy. It's just his kids are rebelling. And it just blew me away. And all of a sudden, I wasn't a management consultant. I was a pastor. You know, it was the same dynamic. Even here in the Woodlands, anytime I would bring an agent into my office and close the door and just say, what's going on? With my other hand, I need to be reaching for the Kleenex box because people have so much going on. I mean, everybody's got a broken heart about something. And so that just informs every conversation I have. Yes?
Okay, sorry. Which transferable skill do you feel has been most essential in this process? Because you have a really diverse history, right?
Yeah.
And how you got to this place. So
Yeah.
what do you feel like was the most,
Public speaking.
okay.
I think every business leader needs to be able to talk. Okay. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah. I mean, you have to.
Girl right here.
I wish I could quote you. You need to be able to tell your story in engaging, compelling,
Yeah,
you know, clarity and all, you know, yeah, confidence. And yes, you got to be able to tell your story in a way that connects with people. Yeah.
You're doing great. Good
what
job.
I
Good job.
Okay.
Check mark.
All right, so, okay, here we go. Biggest surprise, biggest fun, biggest key to success, financial lesson, problem avoided, support, encouragement, challenge ahead.
Biggest fun.
Biggest fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
Biggest fun. The biggest fun. All the new friends I've made. And I've had this sense, really ever since I've been in real estate, even when I was doing sales, I'm like, I meet so many incredible people, buyers and sellers. Everybody has a life and a story and travels and work and family. And I start every year like, who am I going to meet this year? Who 12 months from now is going to be one of my new best friends? I don't even know right now. That was always so intriguing to me. And now I wake up, it's like that every day. Who am I going? Because I start the week on Mondays knowing I'm going to hire 3 agents this week. And chances are, I don't even know them right now. You know, because that's just the way it works. And that is so exciting to me. And, you know, and we say around Abby a little bit, you know, come and be our new best friend. Come be our new BFF. You know, our new best friend forever. Even though we haven't even met yet, come join us. You get part of this group camaraderie is the second aspect of our vision. And you're going to discover a whole group of people who love you and stand with you and support you, and that's been it. It's all the new friends that we meet today. Boy, I got a long list today.
Tell them what your tag is.
Yeah, so kind of the two driving visions of our company are productivity, helping agents achieve at any level of aspiration. Whatever it is that you want to do, 50,000, 150,000, a million, whatever, we'll help you get there. And the other piece is camaraderie, that we're going to do it together. You know, we're going to support each other, help each other, and so we bring those two together in what's kind of our slogan or motto, which is let's go there together. Productivity and camaraderie.
What's your biggest surprise?
Let's see. Oh, our biggest surprise is how quickly we've grown and how much success we've had. When I started, I remember going to a sign company, the sign company that designed this business card, and they were overcharging me on their prices. They were really gouging me on cards and signs, and I remember standing there at the counter telling the lady, "You don't understand. We're going to be a big company. You need to give me a good price. You know, it's not just little old me. It's just me right now." No, it wasn't you. We're going to be big. And when I said that, I was thinking, we're going to have 20 agents, you know? We might get to 35. And we've been in it several weeks, and we're adding agents, and I'm like, at one point, I allowed myself to think about the future, and I thought, you know, wouldn't it be amazing is that by the time we're a year old, if I had 50 agents. I'm serious. And that would make us a powerhouse real estate company, you know? And again, nobody's more surprised than me. But apparently what the sweet spot that we have found has been highly attractive to real estate agents. And I knew it would be because I had all this backlog of experience. I just didn't know how attractive it would be. That's the big surprise.
With all this hiring, when do you run the business?
Yeah, well see, here's the crazy thing. I still sell real estate, which I'm trying to get out of completely, and I have brought my productivity down, but I'm still selling 2 or 3 houses a month, and that was done very purposefully because I have a very skinny revenue model. That's one reason we're attractive. We let agents keep the most of the money that they take, and I didn't want to go into debt for this company at all. So I'm like, I'm going to support myself. And then any revenues from the company, we're going to reinvest back into the company. So I didn't want to burden it with my salary or anything. So yes, I've got the 109 agents. I still have clients, which I'm trying to get rid of. Still teaching Sunday school at our church, you know, still taking my wife out on date night. I mean, I got lots of stuff going on. But we've built some efficiencies into the business. And some of it is expectations. We didn't have a building when we started, so I don't have to show up at a building. I don't have to maintain a building. I don't have to staff the building. I didn't hire my first staff member until March. He's still my only staff member, and he's a virtual assistant based in the Philippines. You know, he works 8 to 5 Monday through Friday on our schedule, but that's it. So I don't know. I don't have a really good. I don't know how I do all this.
5 a.m. emails. 5 a.m. emails.
Oh.
Yeah, 5 a.m. emails.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't sleep. Does that help?
Just broke your model. You're trying to get out of all this work.
Yeah. So that's what I tell my wife. Just what she said. I thought this was all about having a more balanced life. I mean, yeah, but you know, smart work is on the other side of hard work. And we're in that startup hard work phase, but I can see it coming. I mean, I'm already doing less sales, and we're going to get to a crossover point here with income from the business where I don't have to do it any longer, and then we will be hiring staff, and you know, it's going to get better. But I got to tell you, and I'm almost confessing this is a weakness. I love to work. I do. I mean, some people love to gamble or drink or whatever. I love to work, and I do. I lay in bed watching my clock. 4 o'clock, 4:30. No, I can't get up this early. 4:45, 5 o'clock. Woohoo! I can get up now. You know? I just love to work. So that's part of it.
What's your biggest problem avoided?
Oh yeah. So that's getting involved in petty squabbles and even a major legal battle with a competitor. And I'll give you a couple examples of that. I was threatened with a lawsuit a few months ago. And I got the demand letter, and I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't do that. And second, if I had, it's not illegal, okay? It's not unethical. That's what happens every day. And so I got the best attorney I could find, and I said, am I reading this right? And he says, yep. Yeah, you didn't do it? Okay, well, it doesn't matter if you had. No problem, okay? So I could have gotten my hackles up, put on my boxing gloves, and said, bring it on, okay? Instead, I drafted a letter, and I gave it to my attorney, and I said, put this in legalese and send it back. And what it said was, first of all, Frank didn't do it. And secondly, even if he had, there's nothing illegal about it. But most importantly, out of respect for the friendship that he's had with you for all these years, and the kindness that you have shown him over the years, he's going to give you exactly what you want.
Wow.
And we did. And nobody even knows what that is or who it is. But that's how we responded to it, and it went away. That could have been, I would have won that battle. But can you imagine the distraction that would have brought to me? It wasn't serving my goals. And so I made it go away. I was in a situation last week, I was speaking in a group like this, it was an industry group, and the leader of the group came up to me at one point and said, hey, so-and-so, no, she didn't tell me who at that point, I found that since. So-and-so made this kind of snide remark about you. And I heard that, and I thought, and this is what I said to her. I said, you know, it's a little disappointing because I've always respected her and loved her. So I guess in the future, I'm just going to have to show her more love. You know? And so I'm just not going to let that eat at me. I'm not going to get involved in a little squabble with somebody. So avoiding major legal battles and little petty jealousies that pop up. When you have success, you're going to become a target. Everybody's going to think you don't deserve it, you know, and they're going to just let it go. Those are all distractions. They're not going to help you meet your goals.
What else is on that list?
Let's see here. Biggest financial lesson, right, for all small business owners. There was a lot of talk when I started in the industry in this area among people who are, who ought to know, they're like, Frank is never going to make it. There's no way, because they knew my financial model. I've been very open about my compensation plan for agents, and they're like, you can't run a business on that. That's not enough money. Frank's a nice guy, but he's obviously stupid. He doesn't know what he's doing. Well, I'm not saying I knew what I was doing, but I will say this. I understand addition and subtraction, and I knew however small my revenue was, if my expenses were smaller, I was going to be okay. Right? We have accountants in the room. Is that it? So what they didn't understand was I basically had no expenses. So if I got $5 of revenue, I had $5 of profit.
Yeah.
I didn't have a building. I didn't have any staff. I was covering all my own expenses through my own real estate sales income. I literally was profitable from day one. Day one with 5 agents. Here we go. Somebody made a sale. I got $20. Hey, that goes straight to the bottom line. Okay? Now, and I told the agents who started with me, they took the biggest risk. I said, we will be adding staff and we will be adding services, and give me 100 agents, I'll buy you a building, but I'm not going to do it until we have revenue to support it. So as revenues climb, our expenses will climb, our services will climb, but we're never going to exceed that. Because basically you're taking a risk joining a company, a startup company, right? If it goes south, that hurts you, that hurts your reputation. And I don't want you to ever have that concern, ever have that fear. This company will never go down for financial reasons because I will always keep expenses under revenue. So that has served us very well. Okay, let me see if there's anything I missed. I'll share it with you, and then we'll wrap it up here. Okay, yeah, I'll share this. The biggest, I I'll share this. The biggest encouragement that I can give you guys. I don't know exactly how to word this, but turn every experience of your life to your advantage. You know, I said it hasn't always been easy for me. 10 years ago, I lived in Florida, literally 2008. Anybody remember what was happening in 2006, 2007?
Rough time.
Yeah.
2006, 2007 was the real estate market was climaxing in Florida. It's about the time I got there and I saw the opportunity and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I was working around thousands and thousands of the top realtors in the state of Florida and started investing my money with them, you know. And it wasn't very long before I was a millionaire, not kidding, on paper. Okay, y'all remember what happened? Late 2007, 2008. Yeah, that paper millionaire turned into a real life broke person. I lost everything. I had to file for bankruptcy. I had nothing. Okay, nothing. And I was 48 years old. Okay, most of y'all are under 48. Imagine at 48, you think you're going to be retired in Tahiti. Okay, I had two teenage kids and a wife dependent on me, and I had nothing, and moved to Texas and started over. And my bank just approved me for a $1.65 million loan. Okay, personal guarantee. Okay, in 10 years to go from nothing to, yeah, I'll sign off on a $1.65 million loan. I'll pay you back. And the bank says, yeah, you will. Because we see your history. We see your income. We see your practices. So I've actually used all those, that very traumatic experience in Florida to my advantage. That's part of why we're doing this revenue here, expenses here. Okay? I'm more conservative than the average business person now. Why? Because I had that experience there. I don't ever want to go through that again. So any experience you have, whatever it is, divorce, a bankruptcy, an illness, whatever, find the learning lesson in that, turn it to your advantage. It's never too late. I'm 50, this is 2018, I'm 50. I was born in 1960, so I do the math from there. My birthday's not till October, so I got two things. I'm 57, okay? 50, I will be 58. Yes, sir.
So, is there any book you read, or books that you rather, you would recommend? I don't know if you get inspiration from any of them.
Yeah, I do read a lot of business books. I love, what is the 10X book? All the standard books. I don't have any secret books. I read all the books that everybody else is reading and learn from them. And you probably expect me to say this. I have to. I read the Bible. I try to read the Bible every day, and I mean it. I mean literally. I just feel strength and confidence, and I feel like I'm not in this by myself. And there's other forces at play, and it just I get more strength and encouragement from that. It doesn't matter if I'm reading Lamentations or the Gospel of Mark. I mean, I hear the voice of God everywhere in it, and it always encourages me. All right, I think my time is up.
Thank you, sir.